You know, Harvey Milk was known as the mayor of Castro Street. It's a pretty hard job to live up to. Tonight's guest is the new mayor of Castro Street, Supervisor Scott Wiener. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you ever get tired of having people say, so what is it like walking in the steps of Harvey Milk?
Well, no one can ever really walk in the steps of Harvey Milk, so, you know, it's, that's okay.
Yeah. So you're enjoying the job?
It's great. It is, my predecessor, Bevan Dufty, always said that it was the best job in the world, and I understand what he was talking about now. You get to work on interesting issues every day, get to make things better in the district. It's an amazing opportunity.
You know, I mean, I live and I started my business in District 8, and I still live there with my husband. I've been there for 25 years. And I think people have the notion that District 8 is just, quote unquote, gay people, lesbians, transgender community. It's actually one of the more diverse districts in the city.
Well, a majority of the district is straight, even though it has it certainly has the largest concentration of LGBT people in the city. But it's you know, it has a lot of different kinds of people and a lot of different politics, ranging from very moderate by San Francisco standards to very left. So it's a great district to represent.
Yeah. How long have you lived in San Francisco?
14 years.
14 years.
Yeah.
When you came here, did you instantly, like so many gay people, myself included, go right to the corner of 18th and Castro and say, wow?
Well, the weekend that I arrived in San Francisco when I moved here was also the weekend that Princess Diana passed away, a Labor Day weekend of '97. And there was one of those instant memorials at Castro and 18th that kept growing and growing. And I was here with my parents, and we went down and we saw it. And just seeing that kind of community response to something so tragic really immediately communicated to me that this was a unique neighborhood and a unique community.
Yeah. What did your parents think about your decision to go into politics?
They've always been very supportive. They're not political people, so they don't totally understand it, but they are very, very supportive, and they have always encouraged me every step of the way. And actually, in May of 2010, when I was in the middle of my campaign for supervisor, they came and visited me, and one day they wanted me to just do whatever I would do as a candidate, and they would follow me around. So
incognito, or did they know that this, you know, this is the Wieners?
No, they were right with me, and they really loved it. They had a great time. What
has been the biggest surprise for you? Both in general, coming from the East Coast to San Francisco, but then now also being part of what is, I think, generously described as a fractious political environment in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, coming to San Francisco, I grew up in New Jersey, and San Francisco is extremely different, and just it's in a lot of ways an anything goes kind of city, which has its pluses and minuses. But that is something that draws a lot of people here and has always been attractive to me in a lot of ways, growing up in suburban New Jersey, where it was the opposite of anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry about Jersey Shore. I mean, that's just not, that's not fair.
Yeah, you can look at my high school yearbook sometime.
I will.
And in terms of politics, you know, especially District 8 is such a highly educated, engaged electorate. And people, there's no BSing. People really get it. They know the issues, and people have very, very strong views, and they tell me their views, which is great. I like to hear them. But you have a lot of totally contradictory views coming from your constituents, and you have to know how to balance that and really communicate.
Do you think
with
that's
people.
different though from the other districts in town, or I mean, more so? Do you think District 8 is kind of just a bubbling hot pot of all the contradictions that are endemic to any district in the city?
Well, I think other districts, there are other districts that have very engaged people living there, but District 8 sometimes takes it to a new level in terms of the level of engagement. And if you map out how District 8 votes on very hot button kind of issues, this is the battleground district in the city in terms of ranging from very moderate to very, very left. And unlike some other districts, it's so diverse politically that makes it challenging, but also more interesting.
Yeah, I know that when I came to San Francisco, I mean, it was a very different time. It was the really depths of the age era, and that was the overriding political reality of the 94114. Now there are moderates, centrists, progressives? I mean, right just in one block of Castro, you can have a political debate or stronger than a debate, you know, with hardly breathing hard.
Yeah, I feel fortunate that I get to represent parts of the Mission and the Lower Haight, as well as, you know, Diamond Heights and Glen Park and Noe Valley, just really distinct neighborhoods in a lot of ways, but amazing as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that it is now completely stopped being an issue whether someone is openly gay or lesbian, transgender, bisexual, running for political office in San Francisco? Do you think we're past that finally?
No, we're not past it. There are, San Francisco is very pro-LGBT, but you know, not everyone, and there are parts of the city where Prop 8 did well. And so it's a diverse city in many ways, and you know, it's not monolithically, you know, pro-LGBT. So we still have work to do here, and you know, we still have to focus on that.
Did you get hate mail when you were running?
I did not get.
Meaning specifically homophobic hate mail.
No, I didn't get any homophobic mail when I was running. I've gotten some emails in office that I think are pretty homophobic, but they're few and far between.
Mm-hmm. So you still enjoy the job. You're glad you ran for it.
I am very glad. Yeah.
Did you ever think you'd be sponsoring legislation about towels?
No, I thought I'd be able to avoid the naked guy issue, but eventually I thought there were some common sense things we could do to address it.
Well, actually, one thing I would like to talk about is something that sadly has become an issue for Castro for the last few years, and that is Halloween. What is the non-Halloween celebration? What are we going to see this year on which is now Monday, October 31st, and the weekend before?
Right.
Because even though there is no street closure, there's no official party, the Castro has become known for Halloween.
Well, you know, first I want to give a lot of credit to my predecessor, Supervisor Dufty, who was faced with a lose-lose situation, to either let Halloween proceed in the really destructive path that it was going, or take a break from it, which, you know, is never going to be a popular thing with some people.
No, it's highly controversial.
So he, you know, he took the hit and he put a pause on Halloween, which I think was the right thing to do, given how violent it had become and a real problem for the neighborhood. But it is now coming back organically and authentically. And so last year in the Castro, I thought was a great vibe. The streets weren't closed, but there were a lot of people in the neighborhood, a lot of people in costumes. People were having fun. It was a very, very positive energy. And
the least amount of arrests and violent incidents in years.
Yes, and I'm hoping it'll continue in that direction.
What would you say to people who have opposed the city's efforts, going, oh, you know, come on, you know, we should close the streets, we need to have a party?
Well, I'm very, very supportive of our street fairs and festivals in the city, and there are a lot of them. You look at like a Folsom Street that have been very, very successful, and they haven't had some of these problems. And Pink Saturday, although we had a problem last year, this year it went off really well, and we've been able to keep that on track. Halloween had just completely spun out of control. It was an anomaly, and you know, we needed to do something about it.
Yeah, and what do you think is the cocktail, as it were, that combined to make that such a volatile evening?
Well, I think sending the strong message that this is not a, you know, region-wide party where you just come in and get drunk and do stupid things and sometimes violent things. And that message had been out there, unfortunately. And I think the city did a good job of reining that in and sending the message that there is no region-wide party here. And then
find something to do in your home neighborhood for Halloween.
And then being quiet about it and letting it come back organically, which is what it's doing now.
If you had one goal for your term or first term as supervisor, what would it be? What haven't you achieved yet that you really would like to get on the radar?
Well, one big focus for me is getting the city refocused and doing a better job at creating housing for moderate income people. We do a reasonably good job creating low income and very low income housing. We certainly create a lot of market rate housing, but the middle class, working class people get really squeezed, and there aren't a lot of options for them. And so I'm trying to get our city refocused in terms of prioritizing moderate income housing, because I don't want us to be a city of rich people and poor people without a middle class. It's not good economically. It's just not good for any city.
What do you hear from your constituents about that? They seem to be supportive of that?
People are very supportive of that. You have a lot of people who, you know, they maybe have a housing situation that's not stable, where they are working, but they know that if they lose their apartment, they're not going to be able to afford a new apartment in the city or in the Castro, at least. And they want to know that there are going to be opportunities for them. And there's also a sense, which I think has been borne out, that families tend to be leaving the city. We need to do everything we can to keep families from leaving the city, and that means creating housing opportunities.
In our last few moments, what was your best day on the job, barring the election?
Barring the election, you know, the day I was sworn in was amazing. My parents were there, and I had other family members there, and it was just a very uplifting and emotional experience that I'll never forget.
Thanks very much for being with us, Supervisor.
Thank you.
More information on Scott and his work, go to scottwiener.com, and for information on the city's Halloween campaign this year, go to homeforhalloween.com. To see us, tune in next week for Comcast's 10%. Good night.